savage world, strange as a weird war. It's a savage world, classics to explore. It's a savage world, in the land of the dead. It's a savage world, like whatever is in your head.
Well, hello everybody. This is Carl with Tabletop Tango with Eric.
Hello.
And
my breaststroke.
Yeah. Welcome. We are continuing our series on Savage Worlds Edges. This is the third installment, and we'll see again how far we can get through today with starting with the professional edges. Boy, it's been a good journey so far. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. There's a lot. This is the biggest meat of the game, so we're getting real deep with edges.
Real deep. All right. So what do you say? You want to start off and start talking about those edges? All right, let me...
So professional edges are, like, how would you describe them? They're kind of like from training in the character's life. They're specialty training. Obviously, that's not combat-based, really. And you can kind of take them whenever. They do kind of talk about, taking them later, if role-playing appropriate, but I've never known a GM to pretty much deny anybody from taking anything. Maybe a power edge, that would have to be role-played, right? But I don't think a professional edge, like, you would never have somebody be like,
no,
you have to have a thief or whatever.
You have to go through the special Top Gun program to become an ace.
Exactly. Now, the one thing to know with professional edges is that trait bonuses don't stack within the professional edges. So if there's any ever that give multiple bonuses, they never stack, which is important to know. But yeah, let's move right into it, man. Right. You called out the first one already, so.
Ace. So that's really just what it sounds like. You're a top guy in whether driving, piloting, boating, whatever it is. And you ignore 2 points of penalties. And you may spend bennies to soak damage for your vehicle.
Which is a big one.
Which is a big one because vehicles in combat have just as many wounds as anyone else, and if you get wounded, you have problems with things like out of control rolls and stuff like that. So it's good to be able to soak that damage.
Check out our chase video for more details on that.
I should really write down these numbers so I could tell people what they are. Just go through all of the catalog. You'll find it.
You'll find it eventually. So spend bennies and also ignore penalties. Now, it's important. It's not a +2 or anything.
No,
it's just you ignore up to 2 points of penalties. So, which can really help with, like, if the vehicle has... especially if it's like a bigger vehicle that has negatives to its handling. That's a really good edge.
That would be a big one.
So,
yep.
Yeah. And any type of maneuver. So this is only... So the effectiveness, I guess, of this edge is very dependent on how much you use vehicles in the game. And like we said before, I think the negatives is a game changer as much as the soaking. Because if you have, like, one vehicle that you really put a lot into, then you definitely want to be able to soak stuff. So if you're in, like, an urban game or, you're the designated driver, or there's just a lot of opportunities for it. If it's not something that happens all the time, I don't know how useful it is, Carl, right? Like, if it's not...
No, it's we've gone through a lot of edges that have kind of special niche areas. Yeah. But, obviously something like a Mad Max game, you're going to be using driving all the time, and so it might be useful there. And for sure. So it's going to be dependent on the setting, whether it's a big deal. Like the game we're playing right now, you guys are driving around in your vehicle, but no one's really thought to take ace because the vehicle's not the number one item there. Even though you love it, and spent a lot of work on it.
There's not many. Yeah, it's true. But there just really isn't that many. There's not a lot of other people in vehicles, right? So it's like chases don't happen that much, and I mean, this edge is really good. It's pretty much the only edge that deals with driving, right? I'm pretty sure. So, or any type of, like, piloting, boating, all that stuff. It's the only edge that kind of deals with it. So If this is ain't your specialty at all, and it even happens a little bit, or you have your own vehicle, then it's 100% worth it.
Okay.
So just on the basis of that, it's the only one that deals with that. I'll give it an A, because it's like if you want to be good at driving, you need to take this. Like, that's just hands down. You need to take it.
A is for ace. So okay. So let's keep going. Then
keep it rolling.
Yeah, we got to keep it rolling. Otherwise, we'll do lots of episodes. So
you're right.
Acrobat. This is a free roll on it. Oh, well, Acrobat and then Combat Acrobat. Combine those two.
And these are kind of an interesting one because in a lot of the other edges that we've done, it's usually like, oh, here's the base one, and then the second one just does that, but like better. Well, this actually gives you two different things, right?
Yes.
So the first one, and one thing real quick I want to talk about professional edges is that they often have the most prerequisites or requirements out of most edges, especially at novice level. So when you're building your character for the first time, and we talked about this in our character creation video, it's often good to, like, if you know you really want one of these professional edges, kind of look at the requirements, and that will help you build your character out. I just want to shout that out there because you can see Acrobat is a novice, but it has agility and athletics both at a D8. So it's kind of a high requirement edge.
Right.
But yeah, so it gives you a free reroll on athletics totals, specifically that involve balance, tumbling, or grappling. It does not affect interrupt actions, climb, swim, or throw. So I don't think this is that good. The real meat of this here is grappling.
Yes, grappling.
That's something that should shout out to you. If you want to be good at grappling, and grappling can be quite good, this is something you want to take. Because getting a free roll, any type of reroll, we talked about this before, a reroll on what you want to do already is amazing. So if you want to be a grappler, then this is something that you should look at. What about Combat Acrobat, Carl?
Well, Combat Acrobat, as you said, these don't just make it better. It's really, it makes the tumbler, they can jump, they can leap, they get out of the way easy. So attacks made against them are at -1, but they have to be aware of the attack. So it doesn't count for when somebody has the drop, that sort of thing. So,
and how do you stack this against? So this is pretty much directly compared to, like, I would say block and dodge. Now those both give, I think they both give higher, well, dodge gives a higher bonus. But I think the advantage for Combat Acrobat over dodge is that this is all attacks, including melee, where dodge is only against ranged.
Oh, I guess I really hadn't thought of it in quite that way. Yes, the -1 is across all attacks, as long as you're aware of them. Yeah.
And even, anything that's targeting you, basically, -1. So I think that it would even apply to burst damage.
Well,
perhaps.
It says rules as the rules as is written. It says attacks against her are made at -1, as long as she's
all
aware.
Attacks. Yeah.
So
it is good defensively, but you kind of have the problem with it is that you have to go through Acrobat.
You have to go through Acrobat.
Like if you really wanted that, you'd have to take Acrobat, and if you don't really have an interest in grappling, then it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, I think. Which kind of hides it away almost.
Yeah.
That tax is in there. So these are weird because like stuff like, frenzy and improve frenzy and counterattack improve. Like we rated those all at 1, but I feel like we really have to rate these separately, right?
Sure, why not? What would you give Acrobat then?
I would give Acrobat generally a C, but of course, if you're specifically really want to be good at grappling, then this becomes a go-to edge. But otherwise, it really doesn't give you that much.
A C if you're going to be grappling. Okay.
Yeah, unless you're grappling.
Unless you're
like C or D. Honestly, it's
okay.
even lower. It's even lower for me. It's like a D unless you're grappling because the balancing, tumbling, that just really doesn't come up. Tumbling, like what? How often do you have to make a check for tumbling? I guess.
I guess a good game master would see that you're very excited about tumbling and give you that chance to do that kind of thing. I guess so.
But that's true for every edge, though, right? I mean, just based on its own, I think mechanically, I would give it a D. What about you? I
was going to go to C because there is some utility with the grappling, but if that's not your thing, then I guess it isn't that good, to be honest. And then Combat Acrobat, the -1 is nice, so that bumps it up maybe a little bit more. Though you have to, as you say, go through Acrobat, so that takes a little bit away from it.
Yeah, so I would give it a B. Normally, I would have given this an A. It's up there with dodge and block just because it applies to all attacks. But because you have to go through Acrobat, puts it down for me to like a B.
Okay. So that is, I'll say B as well. And then assassin. Next is assassin. Train killers who know how to kill even the toughest foes. +2 to damage rolls when their foe is vulnerable or they have the drop, which is great. I mean, the drop to start with, and now you add another +2. Can't sneeze at that. So
Yeah.
what do you think of this one? You don't like this one?
This one is, I don't know. Whenever I see it, I'm always like +2 damage.
But you got to be
On something
vulnerable.
that's like doesn't come up that much. Yeah, I think assassin's good with vulnerable, and obviously this is kind of going toward like sneak attack, right? There's sneak attack gives it
backstab.
But this actually works really well with like somebody testing. So if you have another person who's doing a lot of tests, if you're doing a lot of test attacks, then this is definitely way better, and then you're just getting that +2. But generally, I think there's just so many better that it just gives you +2 damage when these specific things are met. I think you get a lot more bonuses out of different edges and combat edges. Just there's so many other things to take.
Okay.
So I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think if you're going in a heavy test route, because even with sneak attack, it's going to happen once per combat, maybe. The rules on that are pretty stringent. So you're not. It's not like D&D where you're getting it all the time, right?
Right. I mean,
you can't hide all the time.
you could try to do the 1-2 punch. Try to make them
Yeah.
vulnerable, and then do your attack roll. So
that's the best way to utilize it for sure. So I give this one a C+ even. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I don't think it's that good mechanically.
Mechanically speaking, it definitely is right there average for sure. Okay. And then investigator. +2 on
the PI. This is the PI edge, right?
Yeah.
This is the any type of person, the cop, bounty hunter, a PI, or even a archaeologist, you could say, kind of takes this. You were saying, sorry.
I was going to say it's +2 research rolls and notice rolls made to search through desks for important papers, sift through stacks of junk mail for something of note. For spies, from piles of junk or debris. So it's really geared towards a very specific. I don't know. I was trying to think of the word aesthetic or game model.
You're right, because remember, we did talk about this in episode 1 of Edges, about alertness, and how these are different and they shouldn't stack, and how when one applies, the other one applies. Some people, they take investigator, they just think it applies to all their notice rolls, but it absolutely should not. It should only be when you're like looking for clues, when you're investigating something specific. It's not for like sensory, like being danger, if danger's over there, seeing somebody sneak around like that. It should not be used for that.
So now
it's very specific.
So would you give somebody with an investigator a +2 on notice rolls if there was, let's say, a cigarette butt on the floor that is the clue to the mystery, because that's kind of a clue.
Are they looking for clues?
Well, yeah. They're looking around for clues.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, then 100%. Yeah. But if they were just walking down the hallway and not looking, then no. If I was like, make a notice roll to see if you see this, but they weren't actively looking, then I probably wouldn't. And that's a more niche case. I mean, generally it's more like that's somebody sneaking over there, or there's a trap ahead. Like that stuff I would not use investigator for.
Oh no, of course not. Of course not.
But I think it happens a lot in games. But I mean, I love investigator. I think it's an awesome edge. If you want to be the PI, you just take this and bam, you're already like on your way. The hard part about it is that requirement of a research D8. Smarts D8 is hard too, but specifically research, not notice, research D8. So even if you think, you mostly want it for the notice bonus, research is not used as much as notice. It just isn't, right? So.
But if that's really your gig is to be a researcher, and that's where the +2 on research rolls comes into play, right? If that's your deal, then you're going to have higher research anyway, right? So
I guess I still think research is. I'm like, I've used this edge a couple times, and it was always like, oh, gotta get research up to D8. Like I didn't really want it there. I'd rather have it at like a D6 or a D4, and my notice be higher. So that's the only thing that's a little stringent I found. But I still think it's an excellent edge. I mean, if for what it does, like any bonuses to one of the best skills in the game, and so I give this an A. Maybe it's just bias, just complete personal bias.
You give it an A? Okay.
Yeah, I give it an A because it does, any bonus to notice. It's along with alertness. These are both amazing edges.
Okay, so
and it really gets you that idea of being a PI.
Right. I was going to give it a B plus. So I guess it's because I was thinking of the niche cases, or not really niche, but that it's really for a specific kind of. But A, yeah, I'll go A. You know these.
Yeah.
You know better than I do anyway, so I'll go with you.
I mean, hey, if B plus is your gut. I think most of the professional edge are somewhat niche, right? They have to be.
Oh
so.
yeah.
Except for the next one. Moving on to Jack of all trades.
Which is Jack of all trades.
Yes.
Master of none.
So Jack of all trades, which is different from the last edition, which used to just kind of give you a bonus. This doesn't affect anything like, getting rid of an untrained. This doesn't do that now. Basically, this just gives you make a smarts roll after quote-unquote observing or studying a subject. So if you're like, oh, somebody's research, somebody's doing science, and I kind of been watching them, then you can roll smarts, and on just a success, you get a D4 in that skill, and on a raise, you get a D6.
So it's like we're playing
you can try it
Traveler.
every hour.
It's like we're playing Traveler or something.
Yeah, and basically, the weird thing about it is that you just keep that skill until you try it on a different subject. I liked the old version of this. I don't like this one that much.
I think it's the limitation of that hour of study, and then it's only on that particular skill until you want to use a different skill, and then you need to do another hour of study. I could see where this would be used, how this might be interesting for, I don't know, trying to think of some kind of game where you've got, that investigator, techie guy who seems to know everything if they get a chance to observe somebody doing it, But it's pretty limiting overall. I mean, it saves you the -2, right? So.
Yeah, but like you just don't get it right away, right? You have to do the whole studying and then still roll. Here's why I don't like it is I just feel like in Salvage Worlds, you're not that starved for skills, really. If you wanted to be a jack of all trades, and now there's no like penalty for learning a new skill, it's just 1 point, right? Before it was like 2 points to learn a skill. Now it's just 1 point. I think if you wanted to kind of make a jack of all trades character, just spread your skills around a lot. Like just take a lot of skills. Like just get a D4 and everything. It's not that hard, really.
Which is the equivalent of what they're doing here. So
yeah, and like maybe that's a little bit more investment, but you're kind of better off. You have those skills right away. You don't have to wait and observe and then only have one at a time, and you can fail that roll. It could happen. So I am not the biggest fan of this. I do not think it's really, really worth it at all.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe if that D6 was the base, and then with a raise you got a D8, but I mean, a D4 basically just gets rid of that unskilled.
That -2.
-2,
Yeah.
and it'd be much cooler if you got a higher die, and then might be more valuable, I think. So, okay.
Yeah, and here's the only caveat I guess I'd make: if you're in a setting that has less skills points, then obviously it's better. But base game like core skills plus 12 skill points, like you're probably not hurting that much if you spread out your skills. So
sure,
I'll give it I give it a D, probably D plus around there. That's my.
No, I see where you're coming from. I definitely C- for sure. Okay, well here's a fun one that adds lots of confusion and excitement, and the game master has to let you do it or not do it.
Yeah,
MacGyver. You've had this edge before.
I have this edge in your game right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting one. It basically enables you to kind of like, they give some examples, like if you want to make an improvised weapon, explosive, or tools. This one is, the fun part about this is that it's very creative. You can get very, very creative with it, and it kind of just enables you to do these things. I guess, generally, I mean, the part where I kind of get iffy about it is that I feel like most of the time you could just be creative anyways, and the GM might kind of let you do this anyways, You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if you're in a game and somebody didn't have this, and they're like, oh, well, I guess the really thing that allows you to do it pretty much all the time. Like, you don't have to have anything that's realistic. You can say, I have bubble gum and some wiring. I'm going to make a flamethrower, right?
Well, yeah. So I think the difference is depends on the game master, of course, but if you've got all the materials you need and they're the appropriate materials, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do a repair roll or an engineering roll or a electronics roll or something, and okay, I can build what I need to build because I have all the pieces. This one I always kind of rule a little bit more. It gives you a chance to craft those things without having to resources. You kind of like, they exist. Oh, well, I'm in this gel cell, and it just so happens, like you say, I've got some bubble gum with me.
A mouse spine.
Yeah.
A mouse spine and some bubble gum that we found in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So now I can make up some reason why that helped me make a lockpick to get out of the jail cell. Versus before, you might not be able to do that. I think from a mechanical side of it, they give the definitions of the explosive you can make or the zip gun you can make, but I really don't think that's the most interesting part of it, is making weapons, or it really is, I don't have materials and I want to be creative in making something I need.
And it is a lot of fun. I would say, though, just to detract from it, if you do have, because in that game I have Weird Science, and I almost feel like the Gadgeteer Edge does this, and obviously it costs some power points, but it kind of does this. Like, if I had that edge, then I wouldn't really want MacGyver, I guess. So if you have powers, maybe it becomes a little bit, like if you're kind of going for that Weird Scientist and you have the Gadgeteer one, it's maybe not, they kind of override each other, because that's kind of what Gadgeteer does, right? It allows you to kind of do any power in the book that's 3 points or less. And that's not everything. I mean, there's no power to make a rickety raft, so it still opens up a lot of options. So I still love this edge. I think it's great. It, like we said, it's kind of iffy, but it just gives you, like, you don't have to have the right materials. It gives you just more that freedom, and it's very open-ended and creative. So I will, just because of the fun potential and the open-ended creativity, I'll still give it an A.
Oh, I give it an A because of the narrative power.
So thematic, and we've had fun with it, right? We've had some fun time with it.
Sure.
I mean, hey, I made a flamethrower on a worm wagon, so that was great.
Yeah.
There's like a pile of rudimentary lathes in the trunk.
Yeah.
What do I, like 14 of them at this point?
Yeah, so far we've been building rudimentary lathes every time you needed do something. One day you'll figure out that you've already got one before you do the next job. So.
Before I do remember the next one. And going right into the next one, another edge that's going with this theme, that's
Mr. Fix-It.
That I also have, is Mr. Fix-It. This one's extremely straightforward. It gives you a +2 to repair rolls. It also has the time to repair something. And you can finish in 1/4 time with the raids. Yeah, it just shortens the time to repair stuff, and it gives you, mainly is that +2, and +2 is humongous.
Oh, yeah.
This is huge. The only requirement for this is repair D8, which you're going to have if you want to be the engineer, mechanic type dude. So this is one of the best professional edges in the game, hands down. This is, if you want to be the fixing guy, I can't tell you how much this has benefited me in Carl's game, and I'm like the mechanic, I'm the inventor. It's amazing. I mean, right, Carl?
Well, it's a +2 with no downsides. It's not a niche. It doesn't have a bunch of requirements you got to be doing in order to have it apply. It's just +2 on repair rolls.
+2 on repair, and the only requirement is repair, so you're good to go. So this is absolutely essential. It's novice. If you want to be a mechanic at all, any type of mechanic character, take this at character creation, or as soon as possible. There's just no reason not to.
Definitely A.
A plus even. I mean, it's just, for what it is, it's amazing.
All right.
Cool. Scholar.
Here's
another +2 professional edge. And again, we're going to really like these edges that give +1, +2s, because, as you said before, these are hard to come by, and these will just really do what you want to do. So Scholar will give +2 to more of the nerd skills, quote unquote. These are the hard and soft sciences. Really any type of knowledge skills. So they have academics, battle, occult, science, or smart-based knowledge skill. This one's interesting. It's not going to be as useful as, say, Mr. Fix-It. Mr. Fix-It has more, like, utility in the game. Most of those roles, like academics and science, while, like, of course, like, it's good. It's, again, but the requirements is also research D8, which makes it a little bit, like...
And that's fine. I find that weird. Research D8, but it'll give you a +2 on academics.
I get why they did it, is because it's so open-ended, right? You couldn't say, oh, you need... I mean, I guess they could have done smarts D8, right?
Or they could have said the skill. If you want
the skill you're taking.
If you want to be a scholar in academics, you need an academics D8 plus, and then you get the +2, because you have to pick any one of the skills. You don't get them all.
Yeah.
By picking scholar, you don't get a +2 in all of the different knowledge skills. It's one you pick. So why not
Yeah,
just
I mean-
make it required? I don't. But that's
That research data, it's the same with me with investigator. It's like, but even more so, I guess, because it's like, I mean, obviously, if you're good at knowledge, you'd be good. You'd have some research, but that D8 is tough to come by. I think for sure. It's kind of a huge tax, and that detracts from this edge. I think the call-outs for me on this one, occult can be, especially if you're in like a magic game or like a supernatural urban game. But the biggest one for me here is battle. And that's specifically when used with a lot of the leadership edges. So, which actually use battle. And battle, out of all those battles, the one that actually has more mechanical stuff to it. Like where you're rolling to hit stuff and you can use it to support or mass battles or leadership edges. So, that's the big call out for me, is battle in this.
Oh, and honestly, I had not even thought about how valuable it would be for the battle. So, what do I know?
Remember in like one leadership edge, I think it was, we just talked about it, specifically Inspire. You roll battle to give bonuses, so that would be really good with Inspire.
Yeah, it just didn't occur to me at all.
Yeah, so that to me, that's the biggest call out, but I mean, they're all good, right? I mean, a player in your game, she has that with academics because she wanted to be a really good at anthropology and archaeology.
The gentleman scholar.
The gentleman scholar. Which, take it. It's just that research D8 makes it a little difficult. So that puts it down to me for like almost a B- just because of that requirement. But again, if you want to be good, if you want to make yourself an archaeologist, if you want to be a psychologist, that's central to your character. If you want to be a biologist, then this is the go-to again because +2 is +2. So don't let me detract you. This is just us rating it compared to the other ones.
Oh yeah,
and
well, I was just going to say, I'm probably, because of that weird research D8, it gets it down in the B- category for me. So, all right. Then comes Soldier.
Soldier.
Where's my plus?
No plus. This is the only other one besides, I think it's Brawny. Correct me if I'm wrong, that basically gives you a higher die when it comes to minimum strength and encumbrance. So this gives you basically a free 20 pounds and also increases your minimum strength to use with weapons and armor. Brawny gives you a +1, if I'm remembering correctly. If I have that correct. This gives you a free reroll on vigor rolls for hazards.
Hazards.
Yeah, there is a lot of hazards in the game. I think it's more if you're in like a military style game, if you're in a post-apocalyptic type game. I think this would have I would probably give this to what's that rule? The quick encounters, Carl, where you bumps and bruises.
Bumps and bruises. Yep.
If I was a GM, I would let them do a reroll for bumps and bruises, right? Even though it's for athletics, I would still let them do it for bumps and bruises, just because to get a little bit more utility out of Soldier. But that's just me. I don't know. I think Brawny's better. The problem I have with this one is like, I want to take it, but then it has a strength D6. Like if you're like, I don't want to be a high strength guy. I want to be good with a gun, but I don't want to have to pump up my strength to take those higher guns. But then you have to have a D6 strength. So it's like, I don't know. Like,
right.
Okay. I mean, I guess it presents you from taking another strength if you're at D6, but that's my take on it. How do you feel about it?
I don't know. It's interesting, but honestly, in my games, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about encumbrance and, this minimum strength. I don't do a lot of fantasy using Savage Worlds, so the idea of armor and some of that sort of things doesn't really play into it. So I haven't really seen people take it. So the utility of it really has to be in games where that is important. The free reroll and vigor rolls for hazards, yes, that's okay, but it's really where encumbrance and the minimum strength are important things, and you're going to what's the term I'm looking for? You're going to insist upon them, I guess. That's where it becomes valuable.
Yeah, most games that I'm in does use it, and I could say that once you start dealing with armor or weapons, or even like modern like guns, if you don't invest much in your strength, it does get like, wow, I'm reaching that limit already. And I want that like big assault rifle, but it's D8 strength. It's just that D6 strength requirement that's kind of rough. So out of the two, Brawny is a better one for me. And now I really just have to look. Why don't you say what your score is while I look?
Well, and I can't look it up, so it's all on you. It's all on you.
Yeah, Brawny is also, and Brawny has the same requirements: strength D6, vigor D6, but it gives you that +1 toughness, and so I think that's probably more useful. +1 toughness.
So what did we get for Brawny? You remember? That must have been an A. Maybe?
Oh, I think we gave Brawny an A, or an A-, somewhere around there, just because of maybe the requirements. But
so this, I call this one a C in my mind. If you want to know,
I give it a B- just because, maybe C+. Just because I've been in games where that encumbrance does matter. But yeah, I think you're right. It's more in the C range for sure.
All right, let's jump to Thief then. The Gray Mauser.
Moving on to Thief. Now they did kind of tone down Thief from the last iteration. Now the bonuses in Thief are only +1s. So, Mr. Fix-It gives 2, Investigator gives 2, Woodsman gives 2. Thief only gives a +1. And it gives +1 to athletic rolls to climb, +1 rolls to stealth, but both of those are only in urban environments. And then it gives +1 to thievery rolls in all circumstances. So that +1 to stealth, +1 to athletics, that's very important to know that it's only in urban areas. This is another one where people, I think, get a little confused with, I'm out in the forest, I can use Thief. No, you can't. It doesn't affect
you need
the
partner one of Woodsman for that.
Now, Woodsman gives a higher bonus. I think the reason that they actually let me before I the reason is, I think in generally we're in Savage Worlds, most of the time you're going to be in an urban environment usually. Something like a fantasy game, maybe that wouldn't be as, you find yourself traveling more in wilderness. I think in Savage Worlds you spend a lot more times in urban environments, and that includes like ruins and stuff, right?
Right. And I was going to say, if you're in a dungeon and there's a brick wall or a block wall, I would give the bonus.
Yeah. Oh, in a dungeon it should be. If it's a man-made structure,
exactly,
right,
exactly.
Then it is. So yeah. But Thief is still very good. I mean, if you want to be the stealthy character, again, this is the go-to edge. +1 to it's +1 to 3 different skills. The athletics to climb. It's that +1 to stealth, +1 to thievery that you really want, and really it's that +1 to stealth. So if you want to be any type of an assassin character, a thief character at all, then this is the go-to edge. So it's still good. It's just important to know that that's what it does. I still give it an A. I give it an A- because it's only a +1, but it's still, go-to, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good one because of the 3 benefits it has. Though there's a +1 like we mentioned. So yeah, definitely A- for sure. Awesome. And then the last of our professional edges, Woodsman.
Ooh. What does Woodsman do?
Gives you +2 on survival rolls and stealth rolls in the wild. But not in towns. No. Never in towns. Only
or ruins, or they even call out underground.
Or underground.
Enough.
See, now what's funny is for Thief, it doesn't say specifically, stealth rolls made in ruins or underground, but not in the woods. It doesn't say. You got to kind of interpret.
The underground is a little weird. Like, if you're in a natural tunnel, I probably would give it, that one that's kind of I could ignore. I think they're more talking about dungeons, maybe, like a man-made.
Oh yeah, I think they're talking about dungeon. Well, I think it's because Woodsman. They're thinking, people who can hide in the bushes and make themselves camouflage with the environment because versus hide in shadows. So
yeah. This is an amazing edge. If you want to be, again, it gives 2 bonuses. The stealth is huge. The survival, this is more specific. Survival might not come up a lot. But remember, survival's used for, besides like surviving, it's also used for tracking.
Correct.
So if you want to be a bounty hunter, a tracker, any type of survivalist, then this is amazing. And that +2 is big. And it gives it 2 skills. Or 1.5 skills, I should say, right? Because it's half time in stealth. So
right. Yeah, definitely a good one.
I give it an A. I mean, it does what it does, and it does it good. And I think that's like all these professional edges, right, Carl? Like all of them. If you're doing that kind of character, I shouldn't say all. I should say most, excluding acrobat, jack of all trades. Soldier kind of does what it does. They all kind of, if that's what your character does, they have that training, and that's what you want to do. Then they're all pretty much go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're all pretty good, except for those couple exceptions. So, all right. So that was professional edges. Then the next is the social edges, which definitely are the ones that are the fuzziest to me, to be quite honest.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I don't use them, and but I don't play enough. I haven't played a character really where social edges were important to him, so that's kind of where that comes from. But
interesting.
So that's just me. Haven't played a character that's got social edges.
Yeah, and I think when people see this, so in Savage Worlds, the social system is much more expanded than a lot of other games, right? We've gone over them. There's whole mechanics built just to do social interactions. A lot of the skills in here too go along with supporting and also testing, which are huge in this game, and I think are underutilized a lot. So this is more than just face skills. There's a lot of stuff in here for not just face characters, people who want to do tests or supports.
Absolutely,
which I guess can be face.
Yep, for sure.
And the testing and like a lot of the tests with physical skills. I mean, there's the one there's feint, right, which gives you for fighting, but most of them are only against one. These do a lot more interesting stuff with it, so we'll get into that.
Yeah, well, you got me all excited now. You got me anticipation. So let's go ahead and start with bolster.
Bolster. So basically, bolster it's like you're inspiring others because you're so good at what you do, and I this is a funny one. I've never seen it in action, but I think it's cool. I really do think it's cool. Basically, what it is whenever you successfully test a foe, you automatically get to remove distracted or vulnerable from one of your allies.
And
that's cool. I mean, that's cool.
It's cool.
That's a cool thing to be able to do. There's really not much else besides powers that can get rid of those.
But you as a GM, so put the GM hat on. If you've got players who are picking this, you have to start letting your enemies try to do some tests, get people distracted, get people vulnerable. Because if you're not, and your creatures are always just straight up attacking, this edge isn't all that interesting anymore. So you need to cognize it as a game master.
Yeah, I think this really depends on the GM if they're because along with players, GMs also very much underutilized tests, I think.
Oh yeah.
And it's fine. I mean, I understand there's a lot going on when you're GMing, right? So it's understandable. But I think this one is really cool. It's definitely a side one. I think there's other ones you would take first to make yourself better at testing. But basically for free, getting to do one of those things, and if you're testing a lot, this is something that you want to take down the line, I think. So I will give this one a B. I think it's really really cool at what it does. I think that it's something that you would take later on after you're better off at testing things.
Definitely, it's a B if you've got the right GM, who's playing to your strength there.
Yeah, so play the game a little bit, and if your GM is testing you a lot, then this is something that you want to pick up.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Common Bond, Carl. What does this do?
Common Bond. This one's awesome because a character with this edge can give their bennies to any other character that they can communicate with.
This is the selfless edge.
Yeah, this is the give people bennies. Everybody gets a benny from me to you. Screw you, Game Master. I'm giving bennies to my friends.
Yeah, this definitely is. If you want to be a good support, and it's almost a weird one in the social edges thing because it's not really based on a skill. It's just like I give bennies. I think this is really good if you have also, besides playing to your flaws a lot, hindrances. This is also good if you have luck, great luck, level-headed, quick. If you kind of have the build set up to be getting a lot of bennies, right? I'm in a different game where there's a kid in that game that started with a lot of advances, and he starts with 7 edges, and he has this. So it's like, he's just giving out bennies. So
he's a benny master.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one, I think you probably rate this higher than me. I do think it's good, but sometimes, everybody's, unless you're kind of building towards having a lot of bennies, you can be starved for bennies anyways, so it might not come up as much. So I guess probably want to take luck or something before this.
Oh, sure. You want to have the ones that give you a pool of bennies to use. So it's good to have those other edges first. again, if you're in a game where the game master's pretty stingy, and let's be honest, in my games, I forget to give bennies out. I'm too into what everybody's doing. I forget to give them out. I guess it's easier. It's easier in person when I'm playing con games. Bennies are flowing, but online, I just forget to grab them and drop them on the character. But if you don't have a lot of bennies, then it's a little tougher to be giving them away unless you're definitely in the back of the group and you don't have to worry about soaking because you're way back there. And I think
you
it's
definitely
cool.
want to be in the back. You definitely want to be in the back. And it does work along with like testing. If you're doing a lot of tests and you're not really have PowerPoints to worry about, you don't have in the combat, then this is something that you could do. So I give this one a B-, C+, but you probably give it higher than me.
I give it at least. I give it a B. There's nothing wrong with being able to give your friends bennies. Yeah.
All right, let's move on right to Connections. This is a weird one. So Connections basically gives you, hey, you have a thing with this faction, and then once per session, you can get a favor for them. This is left very in the open. I don't like this edge at all. I think that either through role-playing or they should just give everybody this for free. I think this is a weird one to make people take. I don't think it's that beneficial. So on its own, I do not like this edge at all. I don't think it's that good mechanically. There's so many other things you could take.
I mean, the only way when I was reading this before, I was thinking that, remember how you can use a Benny to take narrative control, minor narrative control?
Yeah.
I guess if somebody had connections, I would give them the ability to do something similar, a little bit of narrative control that's related to, this connection they have. That's without questioning versus role playing it out. But I mean, in the end of the day, we're all about role playing, and
it's a weird one because it is like, it allows you to, and like it does say it says GM's call, so like it's left so vague. But then it's like, but maybe this, like, so it's something that you have to take, but something that you should be able to reward it anyways through role playing. But then it's like, you could get a loan or a few odd fighters, but it's a GM's call anyways at the end of the day. So it's just too nebulous for me. It's like too
that doesn't have strong mechanical advantages that you can rely on. You can,
and then it also like it's just something you feel like you would get from role playing anyways, right?
Yeah, sure.
So as a GM, I might just give this to people anyways for free. I mean, I think in Interface 0, they just gave this to you. Like you just got this.
Yeah,
right?
in IZ2, you had points for connections and things like that. There was a whole subsystem just for that.
And like that's fine, but just on its own, yeah. So I even give this one like a D, and again maybe the GM if they're working with you, but I give this like a D.
Yeah, it's a D
minus, just because it's so like,
yeah.
Anyways,
then humiliate.
This is a free reroll and taunt test. Bam, that's it.
Bazinga.
Bazinga. Now taunt, with tests can be used with any skill as long as you're creative. But generally, it's easiest to get them with fighting, shooting, I would even say, athletics, and taunt. And taunt is the one that's like a verbal one, and of course it uses smarts. So taunt as a skill pretty much is only there for tests. And as a GM, where I might punish them for using the same skill over and over again, taunt I would just let them do all the time, because that's what all it's for, pretty much. Right? It's really all it's for. Taunt also gets more support. There's some other ones that do stuff with taunt as well in this. So yeah, if you want to be the kind of the person who taunts foes, makes quips, has wit, makes fun of people.
I fart in your general direction.
Yeah, I mean, you look like my mother. Yeah. So I mean, this again, if anything that gives a reroll for a thing that you're doing is absolutely essential. That the requirements to only taunt D8 and what you're going to have if you want to be good at taunts. So yeah, I give this an A, just because it's like, it does what you want it to do. If you want to be good at taunts, this does it. A free reroll, anything that gives you a free reroll is amazing.
Yep,
so
A. Definitely an A.
So it's an A for me.
All right.
Menacing. Menacing. What does that do, Carl?
I'm clicking buttons here. Hold on.
Okay.
So that one is, it gives you just basically +2 to your intimidation rolls. And it has some very odd requirements.
Yes. It's the only one that has one of a hindrance as a requirement. I also like this. Intimidation's another one that's really good for testing. It's also really good for role-playing purposes and for networking. So if you want to make somebody who's good at intimidating, the part that's bad about this is, like you said, you have to take one of those hindrances.
Well, everybody who takes mean doesn't do it right anyway, right? So might as well just take mean.
Yeah, mean, ruthless. I mean, if you're going to be an intimidator anyways, then those are kind of mean and ruthless probably are ones that are easy to go to. Ugly and bloodthirsty are a little bit harder. Ugly, I think, might even counteract some stuff, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. Anyways. So yeah, I think intimidation is another one that has really good stuff. So maybe because of the requirements, I'll give it a little bit low, like an A-, but it works really well with some of the other ones that are later on in this too. So I give it an A- because it gives a +2 to intimidation. And I've had a character who had this, and I've had a lot of good use out of it.
Nice. Nice.
You know, you can just have intimidate at a D6 and keep it there, and have that +2, and you're just really good at intimidation. So I like it a lot. What about you?
I haven't had anyone who's really used it, but looking at that, you don't have requirements of saying, well, I've got to have intimidation already of D8, and it's just one of these hindrances. Yeah, it'd be good if you wanted to add on top of just a D6 and get that +2. Yeah, nice. Sounds for what it does it well. Another one of those Bs kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Provoke.
This is a cool one.
Oh, you like this one. All right, tell me why you like this one.
I think this one is really good, and especially for a tank character. And this is where taunt can be really good for tank characters. The part that's bad about it is that you have to get a raise on a test with using taunt. So this is definitely one where you want humiliate. What's cool about it is that it basically it forces people, and on its own, it's not as good. We'll get into it. Pretty much the next one, Rabble Rouser, makes it amazing. The next one down the way. But basically, it kind of punishes people for not attacking you.
Right.
So this is really good if you're a tank. It's also really good if you have high mobility. So you can get in, taunt people, and get out. And they have to kind of like chase you or shoot at you, and you might have dodge or something. So that's good for either of those characters to kind of be the tank or to kind of like take hits or something.
And what's nice is it lasts until a Joker. So it's not one of these just from this turn to the next turn. It'll last until you get a Joker. So that's kind of nice. It would be a little nicer too if it had a little more mechanical where the enemy feels more obliged to attack you. But I guess -2 penalty to attack others they feel is enough to make somebody want to chase after you.
Well, here's the good part about it is that it stacks with distracted. So if you're taunting somebody, and you could be like, okay, you're distracted. That means they'll have a -4 to hit somebody that's not you, right? So then it becomes really strong. Again, I think the part that I don't like about it is that it's only on a raise. There's nothing on just success. So you have to be very good at taunt for this to work.
So you definitely want that bonus. You
definitely want the bonus. It also almost needs Rabble Rouser because you're probably most of the time you don't want to you just don't want to taunt one person. You want to taunt as many people as possible. So I still give this one. I give this one a B+ just because of the things we made. But if you want to be a tank or kind of take anything, it's a really good way to mess with.
Right.
But you have to be okay. The thing with the tank is you really have to have a lot. You have to be good at taunt. You have to have a high toughness. You have to have a shield. Whatever. You have to kind of. It's very heavy with that. So that's.
And you're probably not spending a lot of time on social edges because you've got all the combat stuff you're trying to do. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what it does it well. Moving on to Rabble Rouser. This one's
Rabble Rouser.
I love this one. It gives you a medium burst template with intimidation and taunt. That's amazing. So that gives you a free AoE attack per turn.
Right.
That can test everybody. So. Yeah, I love this edge. I think it's amazing.
It's cool. There's not many edges like this.
No, there's no other edges, right?
None.
It pretty much turns a single skill into a medium burst. I mean, that's, if you're doing Theater of the Mind, that's 3 people, but it's usually going to be, it could be more than that. So, it's great.
It's pretty cool.
I think if you're getting into taunt, you should take this in seasons. I give this one an A just because it's so good.
Definitely an A. Definitely A. Well worth the.
I'd almost take this before taking Provoke. Like I would just take this if you're, just because it does it so well. And it's for both Intimidation and Taunt. So yeah, A.
Cool.
Reliable.
Reliable. Free reroll on a support roll.
Bing bang boom.
Done. Okay. So what do you rank? So what do you score it?
I mean, I feel like support roles get utilized even the least. But if you're building, and because support is always weird, but it's good. Again, it's very open ended, right? It's support role. It's not support role for persuasion. It's any support role. So yeah, a free reroll on a ton of different skill checks that give bonuses to other people.
Score.
Sign me up. That's an A edge.
A,
I mean, if you want to be any type of supportive person at all, then this is something that you want.
Okay.
Retort.
This has got a taunt D6 requirement.
I'm not the biggest fan of this one. What about you?
Well, what's the mechanics of it?
So you have basically the mechanics of it. I'll let you know is if you ever get a raise when you're specifically resisting an intimidation or taunt test. So just intimidation or taunt. The foe is distracted.
Again, another one where, as the game master, use these tests against characters. If not, really not that valuable. And of course, it's not all that cool anyway. But
no, it's cool if it goes off. But here's my issue with, like as you said, does the game master use them? Does the game master specifically just use a lot of intimidation and taunt tests? If it was like any test, that would be better. But that it's only intimidation and taunt, right?
Right.
And you have to get a raise. Like, it's not like you get a free taunt back at them.
Yeah, the raise kind of sucks, for sure.
This just sucks to me. I do not like this one at all. I think it's way too niche. There's way too many steps you have to go through to ever get this off. So I just do not like this one at all. I think this one is a D-. What about you?
D-. Okay. I haven't seen anyone use it. Doesn't seem that valuable. I'm going to go with you. I'll call it a D for sure. Yep. This is getting closer to that F range.
That's almost an F for me just because it's so specific. And obviously your GM would be like, okay, I guess I have to start taunting you a lot with taunts because you have this. But it would just be like, you probably hardly would ever see this work for you, right?
Right.
As a GM, I'd almost be like, anytime you get a raise resisting a test, I'd give this to you. I wouldn't keep it at that, but
okay. Well, okay, so we don't like that one, but this one coming up, Streetwise.
This is a cool one.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about this with the Noble Edge, the background edge, Aristocrat, whatever it's called.
It's Aristocrat, I think.
It's the other one that gives you +2 to networking in shady elements. So,
shady. Criminal.
This could be anything from the criminal person to also like a bounty hunter or a PI, right? Anybody who would kind of be comfortable in that criminal black market settings. It also gives you common knowledge rolls bonuses for that. This one's cool. If you want to be, this one up to me should be in the professional edges. I don't know why it's in the social edges.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
What would you call it? You wouldn't call it Streetwise. You'd call it something else.
Racketeer.
Yeah, something like that.
Or what's the face maybe or fence or something? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, but anyway, so.
Yeah.
So +2.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It doesn't come up a lot though. This is definitely pretty niche too.
Well, this might be, if you're doing a good old-fashioned, let's just say, for example, a noir kind of game, or even a cyberpunk where you're doing a lot of heists and this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So there are settings where this probably would be something you'd use all the time, and then there's other settings where, not so much.
Any urban game, any like city-based game, I think this would be really good.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe a post-apocalyptic game if you're like gathering stuff, you want to sell them. This would be good.
So
it's
a solid
I give this one a B-.
Yeah.
You give it a B. I give it a B-.
Yeah. All right. So strong-willed, and then I guess go along with that is iron-willed.
Yes. So strong-willed gives you a +2 to resist test with smarts or spirit. So another one that's very specific to test with smarts and spirit, which, as you know, smarts and spirit are basically going to be taunt and intimidation. Just so you got people know, that's the main skills that would use that to resist. Maybe fighting with feint would use smarts, but it kind of goes along with retort, I guess. But this just goes to what we talked about before. And this is a little bit better. This is better than retort, I think. It's better to get that bonus. And
well, you'd want this one before retort, because this +2 would help you get that raise you need so badly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it's a little bit more open-ended. There's other skills that could give that. I still don't, again, so as you said before, Carl, it's if your GM does these type of things. So I would not take this at creation, or if you don't know the GM that well. The GM has to be using these tests a lot on you to make this worth it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we see a lot of, so we've seen quite a few that are in that neighborhood. So very GM dependent.
But here's where this is interesting. Iron Will. Now, Iron Will has a prerequisite of both strong-willed. You all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Of strong-willed and both brave. And we talked about brave. That's a background edge that gives +2 to fear checks, which is also not that good. So these are two edges that are not that good. But
together,
then it gives you this amazing. Together they combine into Captain Iron Will. Into amazing one that basically gives you a +2 to resist powers. So any game with powers, this is an amazing edge. Better than arcane resistance, because arcane resistance doesn't, this doesn't affect allies. This is only negative powers towards you. So yeah, this is a tricky one, because that +2 in any type of game with powers would be amazing. But that you have to take both strong-willed and brave really plummets down for me. So on its own, in a game with power, this would be like an A edge, defensive edge, A-. Mm-hmm. But because of that, it's almost a C to me, right? Because like that is just such a strong tax. How do you feel about that?
There's a lot that has to be pulled together to make that work. And so, like you said, you're investing a lot in it, but if you're playing a long game to be able to resist powers, then it's worth it. So,
yeah.
Again, I think I would give that on its own, like you said. It's probably a B, but the fact that you have to spend a few advances to get there, yeah, C- maybe.
Okay. Work the room.
Work the room. All right.
What does that do?
I don't know. I have to read it. This one I don't even know. Once a turn, you can roll an additional skill die when supporting with persuasion or performance. Oh, okay.
Yep. It's kind of the rabble rouser, but the good version.
The good version of the rabble rouser.
Yeah, I mean, support is always a weird one to me, right, Carl? Like, it's one of those, like, that persuasion, I guess, can be used a lot. Like, hey, good job. They kind of say that in the
you can do it.
Book. Yeah, you can do it. You're doing fantastic. Your parents will be proud of you. I guess that can be used persuasion. Even performance is a little iffy on how that can be used. But, it's just that, like, whatever. It just can be used. Those are just the positive skills that can be used. Yeah, it is good, though. I mean, getting... supporting on its own, maybe it's not always the best in combat, but being able to do it to two people really ups that. So, yeah, if you can give a bonus to two people's shooting rolls at the same time, that would be great, right?
Oh, sure. If you want to be a bard, then it's where performance comes in. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So this, again, I think this is very GM dependent. Like, if your GM lets you use performance and persuasion a lot, especially during combat, then this becomes good. And work the room is just the improved version of that. It's just extra 2, so it's total of 3 people at once.
So what do you give these ones?
It's tricky because it's just persuasion and performance. That lowers it for me. It would be an A, so for me it's a B, just because it's specifically those. It's up to your GM, right? So
yeah.
How would you even rate this? Like, how if you were GMing, let somebody always use persuasion, or
I probably would. I mean, if this is if this is their character concept and this is how they've been going, it says once a turn.
yeah,
Which let
is
them
fine,
have it.
right?
Let them have it. I mean, it's not it's not a. I mean, well, people who've got the combat edges, every time they swing a sword, they get that bonus. So why not? Every time you can use your persuasion, why not?
And it would be powerful. I mean, if you have reliable and work the room and like a persuasion of a D6 or D8, I mean, that's you can easily be giving 2 to 3 people +1/+2 on their fighting rolls a turn. That's pretty good.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
All right.
Let's move on right to the Wierd Edges. It says that they're slightly supernatural in origin or only appropriate in games with those elements. Check their GM before taking them. I mean, yeah, some of them are going to be a little supernatural, but most Savage Worlds games, you're not going to sweat this, right?
I mean, come on. Everyone can have a ferret friend. Doesn't matter what game system you're playing, or setting you're in. So
let's start with Beast Bones. So Beast Bond, you may spend bennies for animals under your control, including mounts, pets, familiars, and so on. So a big one here for me is mounts. Even the other one, if you have a pet, you're usually not needing to use bennies on them that much. But the mounts, this is kind of like the ace version for a mount. So if you're in like a Western game and you're riding a horse a lot, or a fantasy game you're riding a horse a lot, then this is 100% you want to take. There's no requirements that you need to fulfill, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of for me only specifically for that. If you're on a mount a lot, this is pretty much the only reason to take it. Otherwise, it's really not that good.
No, it's very niche-y. Yeah. And it's
so niche-y.
Yeah, and kind of boring when you start talking about things like pets and that sort of thing. So, all right.
But it does go along with our next one.
Yeah. Beast Master.
Which this one I love. This is one of my favorite edges because I love
really?
I love pets in games. I love animals. So, how does this one work, Carl?
Well, you have the ability to attract a loyal animal to you of size 0 or smaller, subject again to what the GM allows you to do. To be honest.
Yeah.
So it's an extra, but it doesn't advance in rank or abilities. So I don't know. You like this one. What do you like about it?
I just like... Well, there's also 2 parts to this one. One of the parts that you missed was that animals won't attack you generally, unless they have a reason to, unless you attack them. So if you kind of want to be the druid, or you're walking around, there's a tiger, it won't just attack you guys. So if you're kind of more in nature, this is a good one. I like it because I like pets. I think it's cool that you can take this edge multiple times, and you can kind of pump up the edge, the pet, like give them an extra increase to a trait die, increase the size pet. So this can be really good along with powers and leadership edges. But it is kind of lackluster. I think as a GM, I would maybe say, oh, they do get advances every once in a while, or you know what, you get one of those more powerful companions every time. You just get one of those abilities. You can pop up one of its traits immediately, because it's kind of like just getting a 0, pet. But extras are extras, right, Carl? Like having an extra is good, even though you could get this through role playing. I think that the bonus for this is that even if it dies, you'll always get a new one. Right,
in 1 to 4 days.
Yeah.
I'm not thoroughly impressed. Though you can, at the heroic ranks, turn them into a wild card.
Yes, then it becomes amazing.
Then it's pretty impressive, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded. I like my cat and my dog, but I don't know.
The problem with this, and we'll get to this in the legendary edges, there's a sidekick edge that gives you a wild card. But if they die, they die. So that's kind of the difference. I think I give this one a B. I just really like the theme of it. And I think extras are really good for action economy. But if there's a lot of powers, it's not as good. So it's kind of a tricky one for me. I think the GM, if they're lenient, if they're nice, they might give you some bonuses for it. But
I'll give it a C.
I'll give it a C.
Okay,
cool.
I'm not an animal hater. Don't yell at me. All right. Then we have Champion.
Yeah, this one's weird. +2 damage when attacking supernatural evil. Or if you're good, or if you're evil, it's against good things. And this is the good thing about this is that's +2 damage to everything. So area effect attacks, range attacks, powers, melee,
so
everything that's damage.
Does it count that every time I attack something, I yell "Stop being evil"? Do I get the benefit then, no matter what?
I'm not sure. Okay. They do say that the GM kind of decides, but generally it's any evil or good creature born of magic or with supernatural abilities. So it's not just like the thief or the assassin, whatever, the cultist or something. It's not just that. This is definitely for a fantasy game, like straight up, or a game with a lot of fantasy elements. If you're facing a lot of monsters. So this one is cool in the right setting. This is another one of those that is so niche, right?
Yeah, very niche.
I guess in your game, this would be good against any of the goop monsters.
Yeah, I would totally call that.
Kind of rework it to that.
Those creatures that were made by the nano machine forces and are unnatural. Yeah. Definitely, I would say this would match that. Though they're more animalistic and less evil, but still. But
it gives that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is something that if you're not in a fantasy game and you're not really like a monster hunter, again, I don't think +2 damage is that good. Really, when it comes to combat, I think if we look at the combat edges, it's better to take so many of the other ones first before this.
Agreed.
If it fits your character, then of course. If you're facing a lot of monsters, if there's just a ton of monsters, then yes, it's good. But so I'll give this one even like a C generally, unless there's like a monster hunting game.
Okay.
Right? Then it's better.
Call it
but
C.
+2 damage is just not that good. Chi.
This is pretty cool.
What does Chi do?
Well, it's right on the screen. I mean, you can read it yourself. No.
Okay.
No, it's so you get a chi point. You get it's kind of like, well, I guess we'll call it at the start of each encounter, you're kind of getting a kind of a conviction token for your chi. You're getting a chi point, and then you can spend it. You can spend it on a reroll. You can
even a critical failure, which is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, I don't want to minimize that at all. You can make an enemy discard an attack. You can get +d6 damage on a successful fighting attack.
Which may ace.
So, and then I would, it doesn't say here, but I'm assuming it also will give you, that goes above and beyond the +6 you get for bonus damage anyway. You can stack very nicely.
And you can do that after you've successfully done a fighting, so you don't have to.
So it's pretty cool. It's like a little special purpose Benny just for the combat.
Yeah, it's cool. And that reroll and a critical failure is good. And the discard, I guess for me, when I was looked at it, I'm like, oh, only one per combat encounter. But, that can be big. Rerolling a failed attack, even on a crit failure, can be really big.
I've been in a lot of combats. Remember, it's fast, furious fun. So, I've been in a lot of combats where if I got a chance to have this one point at the key point in time, it would have made a heck of a lot of difference because it only lasted 3 rounds anyway, or 4 rounds anyway, so. Okay, cool.
I guess in a game, if in a game where generally your GM does like one big set piece battle every other session or something, then this would not be as good. I wouldn't take this probably. But if he or she will generally mix it up more, maybe have a couple small ones, do a big one there, then this is definitely better, right? Some GMs might just do that every once in a while, set piece battle, which is just, you wouldn't get as much, one thing once per that. Maybe it's not as good.
So maybe
going that martial arts route, it's kind of cool. So I give this one a B probably.
Yeah. So if I was doing huge set pieces where it took 2 sessions to get through, I probably would let somebody get their chi point at the beginning of each of the next session too. If you really have that many rounds you're trying to get through. So personal opinion. All right. So what do you give that one? I give it a good solid B+. I like
give it a B or a B. You like it. I'm a little bit more effy about it, but yeah, I still think it's really cool, especially for the martial artist thing. Those are some powerful abilities. So,
cool beans.
Danger sense.
I don't know.
Both of us were. I mean, it's cool, but it's very specific to when people's about to get a drop on you. So Alertness is better. Like, take alertness before taking danger sense. Alertness would give you the same bonus. It should. I mean, alertness gives you, so I don't see why it wouldn't give you a bonus, right, Carl, to this?
The one good thing this has going for it, it's a novice with no requirements.
But so is alertness.
Yes, true.
So I'm not a big fan of this one. I don't think it's that good. I don't know what to say. So what we should really explain it some more. It gives a +2 when you're about to be surprised. So if somebody's surprising you, with a raise you start on hold, and it says in situations not covered by surprise rules, like for traps. And I guess that's probably where it's better off is traps.
But you notice it talks about like a pit trap, poison drink.
Yeah.
It's not just generic any trap you might find. It has to be something where that sense, you can kind of sense that there's something there. You can see that the floor doesn't look quite right, or, the smell's not quite right, or something,
Yeah. But I think that's better than just the surprise rounds, because, how many times in a game have you gotten surprised, really? Most games, maybe one, maybe max twice. Like, that just doesn't happen that much to the party. I think if you're in, like, a fantasy game where there's a lot of traps and you're the rogue, this is better. I think that would be a good one to take if you're a fantasy game and there's just a lot of traps and dungeons, right? Then right. I would consider taking this. But again, I would just take alertness before this every single time.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So alertness first, danger sense maybe. Okay.
Maybe. So I still give this one a D, just because I think it's so niche, and unless you're a rogue and the blah blah blah.
I'm with you. Yeah. I think it's a D. I would never take it, but hey. Then healer.
Here's a big one. Yeah.
+2 to healing rolls. Man. Okay, done. Take it. You want it if you're
whether
a healer.
Whether natural or magical.
So, yep.
If you want to be a good healer, you can just take this, take a heal D4, maybe take gifted, and take the healing power. Bam. You're set.
You're set.
You're completely set. Yeah, this is an amazing edge. I think if you want to do any type of healing at all, even if you have a healing of a D4, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this is not one we have to sell. This is an A.
We don't have to sell it.
It's an A.
It's an A edge. That it affects both powers and normal healing is crazy. I would say, though, that the only thing this doesn't do, which it did in the old edition, is that I would not let this apply to natural healing rolls. There's already an edge for that.
Yes.
So I would not let you use this for your own natural healing rolls. Absolutely not. And I think RAI and RAW, it doesn't. But I think some people might get confused about that. But that's just my opinion. I don't think they intended it that way, and I don't think it's really written that way. It's just they kind of left it a little nebulous, I guess. Right?
It does say all healing rolls, so I guess I always read it.
But I think a healing roll is not the same as a natural healing roll, right?
Okay, I believe you.
Like that's my opinion. I think when they talk about if we go quickly back to where is it? Fast Healer. Fast Healer specifically calls out for natural healing, right? So I don't know. I guess people could argue with me about this, but that's just my opinion. Just because there already is the fast healer, and that pretty much blows it out of the water. Like you're taking healer and
right.
And it's if you think about it, like healer, it's like you're good at being a doctor, right? Just because you're good at being a doctor doesn't mean that you have the natural ability to heal faster.
Right. You can only not everybody can do surgery on themselves. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, and again, it's not okay. Yeah, if you roll a healing roll on yourself because you're like sewing yourself up, then it should apply.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But like just that kind of natural ability, like when you're young, you heal better, right? Like that. If some people are just have that better healing factor, so I think. I honestly, this is another one that I find is weird. Why is this not in the professional edges?
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's a good one. It's an A.
It's a good one. It's a Spirit D8, which makes it a little weird because healing is a smart skill, but whatever. It's because it's a weird edge.
It's weird edge. So yeah, it's an A. So we move on. Liquid Courage.
Liquid Courage.
This is a weird one.
It's funny. I mean, the good part about it is that. Your vigor increases the die type, and you ignore level of wound penalties, so that can stack with stuff like berserk and what's that edge? The combat edge that allows you to ignore wound penalties. Whatever it's called. Spacing out. Nerves of Steel. Yeah.
Nerves of steel.
But then you know, like, okay, that's great, but then you suffer a -1 to smarts and agility and rolls and skills.
And all linked skills to smarts and
so
agility.
Fighting.
Yeah.
You know, fighting. I mean, it's good if you're a tank and you're an alcoholic.
Well,
I guess,
what's interesting though is it adds a die type to your vigor, but it has a vigor D8 requirement. So you already got a pretty good vigor, and now you're going to add another die type to it.
I mean, I do think it is good if you want to be a tank and you just don't worry about hitting as much.
Okay.
If you just want to be able to take hits, I guess.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a grappler. A grappler would still use athletics unless it's brute.
Yeah.
Well, no, unless you had brute edge. So I guess a brute could take this. So a brutish alcoholic who likes wrestling, this would be a good edge to take.
There's a character concept. I want to play that character.
I kind of want to play him now too.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's fun. That would be fun.
So it's interesting because it gives you this but you have to also have alcohol. But you know, most of the time I would just be like, okay, fine, you buy alcohol. I'll just give you alcohol easy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
But then you suffer level of fatigue. I guess that's another big thing is that you get a level of fatigue for the next 4 hours. That's a big one that we missed there. So
yeah, you need your long rest. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I'll give it a C, but it's kind of interesting. I mean, getting the +1, getting the bonus to vigor, and
it's a character concept kind of edge. So I give it a C.
But the negatives are huge, right?
Yeah, I'll give it a C. All right, then we got Scavenger.
I like this one. I mean, it's another one that it's just like what did we just talk about? Connections and
MacGyver mix.
Connections, right? Where we talked about it kind of being a role-playing thing, and what does it kind of
Oh,
give
I thought
you?
you were talking about... All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also similar to MacGyver in that way that it just kind of gives you a thing, but it is like it's once per encounter. And again, that's like... What is an encounter? I guess it's kind of like a scene, once per scene.
Yeah,
So a combat or you're in a certain building. So I think, it is kind of cool. It is like MacGyver too, Carl. You're right. Where it kind of gives you the same thing you could say, right? Like, I need a radio. MacGyver could like build something where this, you just kind of get it.
Right. So it goes back to that. It's again, that little narrative control that you could normally spend a penny on. Now you've got an edge that lets you do it naturally without spending the penny.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's interesting. It's kind of it would be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun for characters that have that kind of, just think of that, sort of that Mr. Fix-It type who's got tons of pouches and backpacks and is like in the middle of, if only we had a wire cutter. Well, I'm sure I got one.
Wait a minute, yeah.
So
I think what kind of saves it for me is that it's once per encounter, not once per session, which. Like Connections is once per session, so
right. It's still.
I'll give it a B minus because it's kind of fun
and
and it's creative, right? And
definitely a B minus. Just because it's kind of got role play fun that it can do. So
cool.
So we made it. I don't even know what we're at. Probably
let's finish it out.
We're
at Legendary Edges.
Let's blow through it. Let's call it good.
Let's finish it out. So Legendary Edges. These are ones that you get once you reach the Legendary rank. Which happens, doesn't happen that much in games. But I will say, Carl's game in a couple sessions will be there.
Legendary, yes.
Have you ever been in ran a game where somebody's reached Legendary?
No, I think I run games where people hit veteran a lot, but not Legendary. This will be a first one. We've been playing a long time, and you guys have been really grinding through. And it was a weekly, so we really got through a lot of sessions.
Weekly,
And I think it also helps, just on an aside, now with the new SWADE rules, where it's like, hey, every other session versus that, well, your session was only worth 1 experience point, so it'll take you 3 sessions to get. No, it's just like a couple sessions, get in advance. So
I think there's only one time that you... where I think it was actually this last time. It was the only time that you ever were like, okay, you guys will get an advance this time because it was too short.
Yeah, you just literally didn't get much done.
We're in the middle of a combat.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about the legendary ones.
Followers. I mean, this is like the animal one, but
5 followers.
But up, yeah, you get 5 followers extras. This is amazing with leadership edges. Now, here's my issue.
Yeah.
Is that like if you're doing the leadership thing, you probably built it way earlier on, and if you're building it early on, you probably have access to extras. So it's already kind of like if you're in a game, then you already kind of already have it. Also, it's like followers can advance, yeah, but once you're at legendary, much more are you going to play? Probably not that much, right?
Right.
I mean, it depends on the game, I guess, but so it's cool, but it almost is like if you've already built to have followers, you probably have already had them.
It comes a little too late.
Yeah, it comes way too late.
Yeah.
So it's good for what it does, but just because it comes too late, I'll give it a B-. I mean, I don't know. This is a weird one because it's like
yeah, it's like a C in my book, kind of, because it comes so late. And let's be honest, like even in the game we're playing, I mean, as a game master, you're throwing NPCs at people, and some are friendly, some are, and some are going to join in and follow, and then the leadership edges come into effect to help out. It comes too late, so I'm going to give it a C.
And I imagine that like if one of us in that game had taken a bunch of leadership edges and wanted to be like a merc leader or just somebody who led them and was like role playing it out with you, you would let them have extras probably, right?
Right, you would have ran into
people and
well, like we're playing this game where there's genetically modified people from the way back past. I could see you guys running around with Genomods as people working with you
followers.
As thanks for saving their village. So yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about professional, expert, master.
That's good. Yeah. So these are cool. They, in a normal game, this is like not Rifts. It increases your trait by 1, and it's maximum. So yeah, this is really cool. You do kind of, I would only take this, and again, you have to be maximum die type in an effective trait anyway, so you have to be a D12 in this. I pretty much, so we'll just use an example. In your game, my last edge that I took, I spent the whole edge just to get my weird science to a D12. I didn't want to really spend the smarts to get it to a D12 on this, just so I could then take professional, because that +1 will be key. I mean, that will just be so good for me to get, the not having to use a Benny or to get a raise on my powers, because I'm heavily into my powers in that game. So, yeah, this is a great edge. This is an amazing edge, just because once you get to Legendary, you can finally be like, a +1 is a +1, right? And this can give it on anything. This can give it on fighting. And this will add on to all your other things that you've had bonuses to. So, but you definitely have to build toward it.
Yes. And then expert, it increases it 1 additional step.
Just the same thing? Why
and
not
then
take it?
And then master is different. Master increases the wild die
to a D10. So that is good. If it was just a D8, I'd be like, I probably wouldn't take master, but I'll probably take expert, I guess. If that makes sense. That's how I feel.
Sure.
I guess it depends on how long your game is, right? Because I could still take other edges. I could still take scavenger. I could still take more power edges. Like, there's still stuff I want to take. Even if we played for 10 more advances, even, So, how do you feel about them?
I think professional, expert are the kind of bread and butter and meat and potatoes. Master is D10's kind of cool, but there's a lot of other things you can do as well. But again, it's legendary. At some point, you start running out of things to do, so you go, why not?
I mean, it's salvage rolls though. I can always take something. I think the good thing with master, especially with powers, is that you're just further eliminating that crit fail, which is brutal. So.
Okay, so as all of them kind of together, they're a pretty good B in my book. So let's take a look at sidekick.
This is the better one than followers for me, especially if you've been building up leadership edges. Instead of taking followers, like we said, you already probably have them. Sidekick gives you a unique thing of giving it's full-on wild card.
It's a wild card. And
bennies.
Yep.
It starts with bennies that complement you. The problem with that, if they die, that's it. I mean, that's But you can always spend bennies for them. So that's the good part about it. Is that even though they start with 2 bennies, you also can use your bennies on them for free. You don't have to have the edge. So,
well,
I think
but the
this is a really good
sidekicks,
edge.
but you can't use the sidekicks as a Benny pool for you unless they
take it. Yeah. Because they also will advance.
It's interesting that so you're at legendary rank, so you're going against some pretty heavy duty stuff, and they're novice. So you're going to have to kid glove them a little bit. They're not running straight out into the.
You're probably not going to make them like, oh, here's a tank now, everybody. You know.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And I think that's why this versus the Animal Companion one, we talked about that, where with 2 edges with the Animal Companion one, you have a wild card one that doesn't advance, but it's still a wild card. And as we know, that wild die is like key. That just makes all the difference. Like there's just no an extra versus a wild. Just the wild die is the biggest thing about them. So,
right.
Also, they can take more. They can take more damage. They're not just out after 1 hit. So yeah. I mean, it's if you're at legendary and it makes sense, then it's an A edge. I mean, getting a. You just have to be a little protective of them, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's cool. It's cool. So you gave it a what? Did you give it?
I'll even give it an A or a B plus, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Because I might probably before this want to take the animal one with the master one at master, just because I don't have to worry about them dying as much.
Oh, sure.
But,
so yeah, this is a good solid B for sure. Yep, okay. That's not a bad one. And then we have tough as nails.
And tougher than nails.
And tougher than nails. Which
increases
requires
your wound cap.
Nice.
And yet, but always with increasing your wound cap, and this is with in the same with increasing sizes up. So large, their maximum penalty is always at -3. It never goes beyond that.
Right.
I don't like this one as much as other ones. I think before you would take this, it's better to take the ones that let you ignore penalties.
Oh. Okay.
Like but I don't know. What do you think?
Again, it's legendary. It's one of those things where you're coming up against stuff that's starting to have some heavy-duty punches and can create a number of wounds quickly, and so it starts becoming valuable. I mean, you're going against some pretty tough stuff that can whack you hard. So an extra wound is probably a pretty valuable thing. Not to minimize the ones that get rid of penalties for wounds. Those are valuable too, but just being able to stay in the fight is good as too.
That's true. And if you already have taken those 2 edges that get rid of 2, then this becomes amazing because you can just, it's always only going to be at a -1, even if you've taken 4 or 5 hits. So, yeah, I guess I always play with the wounds cap rule at pretty much every game I'm in. So,
well, and that lessens the need.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
but if you're not playing with the wound cap, and I was just in the game I'm playing, the Titan Effect game. It was the game master rolled 48 points of damage, and we don't have wound cap. And so here's what happened. He retconned it. It was like, kind of have to hand wave. Well, and it's supposed to, you're just dead. There's no way you're going to so-call that, So, but I always like, you should, hey, there you go. You should go back and look at the video on
setting rules.
Because we both like wound cap. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this, at a legendary level, I'm going to give it a B. But that's these 2.
Weapon Master and Master of Arms, the last edges.
So very last edges. But did they leave the best for last?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think so, but maybe you'll think differently. Weapon Master increases your parry by 1, and your bonus damage die goes to a D8.
This should not be a legendary with a fighting of D12 requirement. This is not an edge. This should be at a lower.
It should be a combat edge and shouldn't be. Yeah, why is this legendary? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be one thing if it's giving you a parry of +2 or 4 or something amazing, but
it's just... Master of Arms increases it to +2, and your bonus damage die for fighting goes to a D10. And I think a lot of their intention behind this was that, like, if you're a fighter, you've already taken a lot of edges, But like as we've said, there's so many edges, combat edges. I mean, we have a character in our game who's mainly a fighter and a little bit of a shooter, and he could take. He is still wants so many edges. Like,
and he's just about to become legendary, and there's still
we're
just a
about to
ton
become
of
legendary,
edges.
and there's
yeah.
so many edges and skills that you could take before this. So, I never really liked Weapon Master or Master of Arms. I just don't think it's that good.
I don't see myself ever taking it, and I play fighting type characters a lot when I do play shooters and fighters, and
Yeah.
I don't see myself taking it, to be honest. So,
I mean, the only thing is that block gives a +1, so kind of the same. But then it also reduces gang up bonuses. So I guess if you didn't have block and you were at legendary and you had to decide between these, I might choose that just because it's kind of a mix of offensive and defensive, right? So, but I guess because it's just at legendary, right? It just makes it a little weird for me. But
yeah, it should not be legendary. If it wasn't legendary,
do you like this or block better? Like if you had your choice of block, which gives +1 to parry and eliminates 1 point of gang up, or this one, which one would you take?
Well, I would take block because I can get it earlier.
But if you could take them, if you were at legendary, say you didn't have block, and you could choose between the two, what would you take?
I might take this one. Just because I'm not, the gang up bonus isn't always there,
good,
but every time I hit,
yeah.
I do get that extra potential for damage. So
so that's why I wanted to ask you, because I was interested. So I think what's putting us off is that it's a legendary edge.
Oh, that's definitely. If it wasn't a legendary edge, then it'd be well worth it. It's just you're way up there, and you've spent so much time. And thanks. I get not a lot for the investment, but.
And if I remember, we gave block maybe an A, but I think we gave it a B range. So I might give it. On its own, it's kind of like a B. I mean, and it does give you +1 parry, which is good if you're in a lot of melee, but because the legendary one is just throwing us off, I think.
Yeah, I guess that it's when you get it, I guess, and the fighting D12 as well.
Yeah, that's true. The requirement. So maybe it will be like a B- just for me, just because of that too.
I'll call it a C. Master at Arms, same thing. Call it probably a C, even though you get a little bit more there.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. It's just it's like anything out of the other ones. Wow, well, we did it, man. 3 episodes, or 3. I guess you can count the power ones, so 3.5 episodes. 4 episodes.
Well, no, I'm not going to cut this one. We're going to get the whole thing.
I mean all of the edges altogether. We got through them.
We got through them for sure. Yep. It was a long one. There's a lot of edges in Savage Worlds, and I feel like we gave our opinions. Had to look some up, but I think it's. If you listen to all of them, you've got some good ideas on how to put some together and how to stack them and how to use them in a way that makes it better. And some that probably aren't all that useful, so maybe don't take them. But again, your mileage may vary. It's all your character concept. Don't let me tell you how to have fun.
Yeah, and I think that's again is we've said this before, but I think it's good to reiterate that is that this is just our opinions, and this is just like on a purely kind of like in a white room mechanical looking at it. I think the number one important thing is that you have fun. That if you have an interesting character concept, then absolutely. I mean, saying that, even within those character concepts, there still is better edges than other ones that you really get mileage out of, and some of the edges in there are a little bit trappish, right? They seem to be better than they are. So, I still think there's some advice that is from our experience that might be good to help you with that. But I mean, you just can't go wrong, really. I mean,
talk it out with your game master, because a lot of edges, at least in this episode, depend on how your game master is going to run his game. So. Have that open dialogue. Have those adult conversations. All right. Well, I'm going to call it there. So this is Tabletop Tango. I'm excited we got through all of these edges, and we'll come back with some new ideas. We got stuff in the hopper. I've got some other ones to throw out there, and I don't know. We have a special new series coming up where we won't be talking about Savage Worlds. Oh yeah,
that will be fun.
yeah, we're gonna go into. I mean, we've really done a lot in Savage Worlds, and we're going
Yeah.
to try something different. They're actually going to try. People, just a hint. People are going to try to educate me, so which is hard to do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we won't go on much longer. It's a long video, but thanks for watching. I'm Carl,
I'm Eric.
and have great games.
Stay safe, everyone.
It's a savage world. Strangers, a weird war. It's a savage world. Classics to explore. It's a savage world.